يلا بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Assalamu alaikum boys.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it Ramadan already?
That's true. That's actually been the trend, huh? From Ramadan to Ramadan.
Yeah.
We broke the trend, huh?
That's
Thank
it.
God.
We're back.
After 3 years, but
Fortunately or unfortunately for some.
2020.
What?
Alhamdulillah. He's saying
2020, the year of
2020.
change.
The year of change,
We did it in
that's true.
2018, 2019, 2020. Abdul stayed silent
did we
because he
do
can't
it?
relate.
We started 2018.
I think I was only here last
Oh
year.
yeah, I wasn't here in
Yeah.
2018, yeah.
No, you were.
Well,
You were the original. You started with us.
Nah, last year was the first one.
No.
we had the year before that.
I don't think I was with you guys.
You guys were. You were.
Was
The
I?
year before that. Or
That's
2019 or
before.
18?
That's before you became a
2018.
hipster. So he probably doesn't remember.
Those the memories I
Yeah,
used to
before you
raise.
became a hipster. That's it's one of those days. So you forgot those memories.
Man.
All right. For those who don't know and didn't watch during Ramadan because they couldn't afford the FM radios on their radio on their car. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
iPhone.
he's pushing.
He's using every opportunity to promote.
So $50.
What are you sitting next to, Ahmed?
I'm sitting next to the unique one and only.
No, there's 5 there.
Exclusive, but it's exclusive. It's
One of
exclusive
five.
to Australia.
1 of 5.
They don't have it anywhere else,
Hello,
actually.
you walk into the next room and you find like 40 sitting in a stack.
The Al Bayan
1 of 5.
FM radios. This is
Exclusive to Australia, made
actually
in China.
the best thing.
They're not FM.
They're not.
They're internet.
They're Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
Wi-Fi radios.
Wi-Fi,
Actually,
yeah.
yeah. They're actually really good.
High tech.
The best thing about it is the alarm. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to
It's
you.
quite every time he talks about it, but the best thing about it is the alarm.
Guys, you don't know it until you try it.
Like, bro, there's no way you can sleep through that alarm.
Well, what's the sound of the alarm? The iPhone ones?
No.
No, it's
Toot,
unique.
toot,
It's a unique
toot, toot,
Al
toot,
Bayan
toot.
one.
Toot, toot.
No,
That's
I've
it.
got a different one on.
What do you have?
The default one.
That's the default one. Now you're making us look bad, bro.
Anyways, move on.
No, I have a bad alarm. My phone alarm just goes burp, but you know the horn? It's like burp, 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 and then I wake up the whole house, and then that's it. It happens about a couple times, and then my parents lose it at me, and then I turn it off
That's
for
the
about a
new
week.
alarm.
So introduce us, Adnan. I think we're 5 minutes into the podcast and no one knows who's talking yet.
That's
Okay,
alright.
so I am possibly the host, Adnan Cheek. We got with us today and hopefully monthly on to my right, because we're going to start from my right, Abdul Salam. I was going to say Rafiq, but Abdul Salam Amalov. You don't want that.
He
You
said
wishes.
hopefully.
We wishes.
I'm on probation. I might not make it next month.
No. Like hopefully, like we keep it continuous. You know?
Inshallah.
We got Big Mazen Kharouche, and we got Ahmed Rafiq,
Assalamu alaikum.
humble man.
Just Ahmed Rafiq.
Yeah.
Mr. Doctor.
He didn't-
Doctor Ahmed.
All right, bro.
Ahmed Perry Rafiq.
The inside jokes. Not good.
All right, what are we here for? Why are we here today? I don't know.
I was going to ask you guys.
We're
Alright.
here because we've been saying for the past 3 years, 2018, which we established, that we'll be doing, inshallah, a regular podcast.
Not just Ramadan.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
not just Ramadan, because we used to do Ramadan nights podcast, 3 of us, and then we used to have Abdul Salam sometimes. We had a couple other guests as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Usaid last Ramadan came and also hosted with us. But that's why we're here. We're here to inshallah do something a bit more regular, even if it's just
Inshallah.
once a month, in line with everything that we spoke about during Ramadan. So now we're doing something inshallah a bit more regular, once a month. What we're doing
Inshallah.
exactly is soon to be revealed. Dun, dun, dun.
Now we're going to do like a 100 million views reveal or something.
No, that's
Or we're gonna reveal
afterwards.
straight away.
Once we get the stats and then we see that people are actually listening, we'll give away like a Wi-Fi radio.
Signed by the host.
I got to work on my signature because my dad says I got a
It's
chicken
black, so
signature.
you gotta sign it in liquid paper.
Alright.
Oh.
There's a white markers now, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not that hip.
Officeworks has
Just
them.
chalk it.
Yeah, chalk it work. The chalk
Chalk.
comes off.
Chalk works too.
Construction, bro.
No, you
construction.
put, what do you
Just
call
chalk
it?
everything.
Put hairspray over it. So
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
how,
disappear.
you know it's a construction
Right,
worker.
yeah, you're trying to
Chalks
flex on us.
everything. Yeah.
Look here, Chalk, get the line mark.
Chalk was
Yeah,
spray
the
paint.
chalk.
That's it.
Do you have it in your car at the back now?
I've got chalk in the back.
Yeah. in your- Good man.
Why do you keep going silent for, bro?
I just like, wallah, I like making it awkward, you
He's
know?
right. He doesn't know when to reveal it, so he doesn't know when to.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for
Once I let
the
everyone
views
know.
are coming up, or is that just a sound buzz?
No, I don't know, bro.
Oh.
But,
Because
but,
it's
but it's,
spiking.
it's not a big secret.
Mm.
Like, you're going to tell them eventually, right?
Okay, basically we've gathered together so we can make some. We were thinking, and we've been thinking for a while, and we've had a group on WhatsApp for a while that messages once a year.
That's bad, yeah, but yeah.
Now this time, as we said, we tried to make it a bit more continuous and do something a bit on a regular. And we decided to choose something that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
And is the word advertise or target people our age with our certain experience. Not really our age, but not our
All
age,
ages.
it's
It applies to all
Yeah.
ages. What we plan to do, inshallah.
Yeah,
But we're giving it from the perspective
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
I've a
That's-
couple guys from Sydney.
Couples
much.
too,
Few.
but yeah, 4 of us. Yeah.
I guess the target's the wider community essentially
Yeah,
of people who can also benefit from what we're hoping to benefit from, and who can apply that same level of practicality.
Yeah, inshallah.
I guess, inshallah.
Yeah, so it's benefiting us, and if anyone bothers to listen other than mums, then benefit them as well, inshallah. So
Inshallah.
that goes to Usaid Rafiq because I think he's one of our
He's one of our
avid listeners. Yeah, I think
That's it.
he's subscribed and everything. He's got the bell notification, the whole works.
He's a top fan.
Yeah, top fan. That's it.
I think that's how we came up with the idea, because essentially we kept saying we want to do something, want to do a podcast, we want to talk about something, and what do we talk about? And
That
a lot of the
was,
time, for example, like what we, the conclusion we came to was that every Ramadan we tend to speak about a similar topic, or we felt it was, it would get a bit repetitive of
Yeah.
whether we were talking about our changes or what we haven't changed, what we plan to do, things like that. And those topics, even you'll find in the wider community, not just in the Muslim community, when people are talking about that, you'll see like the motivational speakers or whatever, they'll end up speaking about the same topic eventually. You'll see people in the tech world, in whatever, construction, anyone giving a talk, over time, they'll keep talking about the same thing. And I think we didn't want that direction. So
It's
we
not a
thought,
bad thing. It's not a bad thing
course,
because you
but-
do tend to forget. Like if we spoke about now what we spoke about in the first week of Ramadan, I'm sure you'd still inshallah get some benefit, right? For whoever's listening, even for ourselves.
I just think our goal specifically was something that we could do as like something that was continuous and long term.
Yeah, a bit more structured, like,
Yeah.
and that way the listeners can also join along. Because I
Yeah.
don't think anyone wants to listen to us every month about our life story.
Same thing, yeah. As well, like provide an alternative, halal, entertainment or really entertainment.
It is
Infotainment.
And I
Oh, I
think the
like
fact-
that. Is
yeah.
that?
I think
Is
it
that
is a
you?
word.
Did
It's
you just
al-
make
it's
that
already
up?
a thing.
It's already a thing.
Not patented.
No, I was waiting for Mazen to correct me.
Oh,
Or you
I
to
think he's
correct
right.
me.
I'm pretty sure
He's
it's
right.
a word, yeah.
Infotainment.
But also,
I'll still give you the
It will
points.
sound
on that.
stupid if it's
10
not.
points to Gryffindor.
So it is.
But also, I think like the thing about it that I feel, at least with the idea that I like the most, is that we can get the listeners involved. That it's not just something that we're doing on our own. That everyone can benefit from,
Yeah.
inshallah.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
it
was
felt.
just-
Yeah, it felt. Sometimes it feels like you go on Ramadan to Ramadan, and each Ramadan you're talking about what went wrong between this Ramadan and the
Yeah.
last Ramadan. So maybe this is an avenue of sort of benefiting and trying to improve on that month to month or week to week, as opposed to waiting a whole year and then talking
Yeah, a
about
bit more
that's-
accountability as well. You don't just
Yeah.
forget about it and you move on. And next Ramadan, you do the vicious cycle. Remember we
Yeah.
spoke about it during Ramadan. We're trying to break the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But like Adnan said, I think it's also serving like as a bit of infotainment. Because I remember speaking to I think once again both of you and your cousin Yusuf in the car, and we were like, when I went back when I was at uni and I used to sit and study, I used to sit there watch podcasts or stupid useless videos, not necessarily haram in any way, but of no benefit, just because I wanted to listen to something while I'm studying, and or watch a video while I'm studying. Like I'll have like a 5-minute break every 20 minutes just to watch, don't kill myself. So if we can provide that bit of infotainment and benefit people at the same time, so they can listen to while they're studying, on the train, whatever it may be, or live. That way they can chime in as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just wasted time.
For me, I really liked. I think I started getting these podcasts, a new thing. I think a couple of years old. Everyone started listening. Before it was probably, I don't think there was anything other than music that everyone used to play.
Radio.
Yeah, probably a radio talkback shows and stuff like that. It really hit me like I was going on a long drive. I think I was sent to work in like a place far out west, like 5 hours west, and I was going with this young guy my age, and we're driving, and I was like, in my head before I jumped in the car, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna start blasting music. How am I gonna win my way out of blasting music with him for 5 hours? Because he was, what's it called?
Non-Muslim.
Yeah, he was a Muslim and stuff, and it was his car. But subhanAllah, he turned it on. He just turned on a podcast, and it was actually like, I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't music or anything. It was just like just talking, and the guys laughing.
or something.
No, it wasn't. It was a bunch of a bunch of guys talking, and they're just talking about celebrities and talking about whatever's in the news and stuff like that, and having a laugh at everything. And that kind of triggered me just to, as I was working later on in the office, I just like swiped through podcasts, and I honestly can't relate to anything really. I don't know if you guys can relate. Mazen can probably relate to a couple podcasts.
Yeah.
That's
It
because
just
you're not very
depends.
easily relatable. It's hard being your friend actually. I think it's your fault.
And then as well, when I am working and I'm not, for example, I'm not doing stuff that's too mind intensive, I can't really concentrate on a dars and really reflect on what he's saying in dars because I end up losing track of either work or the dars. And as well
Plus,
with
you feel guilty if
That
you're not
you're not
listening
paying
to the
full
dars
attention,
properly.
yeah.
Yeah. As well with the Quran, the same thing. I'm like, okay, I'm reading, then I'm starting to make a mistake while I'm working, fix that up, and by the time like 3 surahs down, I didn't realize. It's like hard to keep back and
Yeah.
forth. Yeah.
That way, at least if you're listening to our voices, you don't feel guilty, and maybe you're not sinful.
You
if
feel
you're not
better
paying-
for ignoring it.
See, that's how you become relatable. And then take some notes. Take some notes now, bro.
Okay, must bag out myself.
It works. It works. It gets people laughing.
You gotta.
So what are we gonna do? I think we've beat around the bush a bit. What are we doing that's gonna
That
be
beats
so
the bush.
consistent? What's
the
the
plan?
monthly plan?
All right, so I think we spoke together and we were thinking about what was the thing before we chose this, just to give the listeners some
But I
background.
don't even remember this, to be honest.
Oh, you're bad.
Mazen's playing hard to get.
No,
Yeah,
you said
should I
bag
pull
out
out-
your own self. So
Should I pull out the messages, Mazen?
See,
No,
at least
I don't remember
at least I
either.
execute on the ideas. You know what I mean? You said bag your own self. I just did it, and then see a couple laughs.
I think this was the main idea that we did. That we went.
Yeah, to describe relatable things that happened to our age. And subhanAllah, it came to my mind that I had read a book, not recently, but beforehand, on a book that's similar to that sort of style of writing. And it's called Enjoy Your Life by Sheikh Dr. Muhammad Arifi, I think, which many people know. And it's literally, I think I was gifted it to read, or I was just bored going to someone's bookshelf and they're like, just take it and read it. And just the title got me, it's called, Enjoy Your Life. And it's really relatable. All it does is literally, the Sheikh just goes through topic by topic and he writes just down different name headings. And every chapter is about 2 to 3 pages, maybe 5 max. And he just talks about a certain topic and how he relates to that in his life. And he kind of, what's the word that I shouldn't use?
What are some chapters named?
1 second. Mazen's like, don't use the word analyze. So give me another word. Give me an alternative.
Explain.
Reflect
Reflect.
probably a
Yeah.
better word.
See,
See, that's 2020 hipster terminology. Reflect.
Alright.
Say Abdul's on that grind too.
Yeah.
All right.
Analyze means pen and paper. Reflect means just sit down.
And think.
No pen and paper.
Ponder.
Ponder, yeah.
Oi,
Wow,
I'm
that's
getting
another
there. I'm on that level now slowly. Eh?
What did you get in? What did you get in English?
I don't remember.
All I know
agreed
is
that
I
we
got
all the
higher
same
than him.
mark, 'cause we
I
were
got
on the
higher than
count of
Abdul. That's all I
3,
know.
Nah. I think Abdul
and
got
we all
same
got
as
the
well.
same mark.
I don't know.
Did you get the same?
No, I
I
think he
have
got
no
band
clue.
6.
That's
True, he's
really
playing
don't
hard to
remember.
get.
No,
I
I
have
did
no
get
clue.
band six.
He's playing.
No, I don't know.
I have
The second
no
his
clue.
brother beat
Move
him.
on.
He used to remember.
Keep going.
Until his brother beat him. When his brother beat him, he forgot.
We gotta know if he stands above us all. Because that's
Nah, that's for sure. That's for certain. We know that's not the case. He might be taller than us, but it doesn't, with that hair
That's
especially.
the
but
hair,
it
bro.
doesn't
Give him
stand.
2 inches.
We'll call it a level playing field. Keep going.
Yeah, that's
I think it is pretty level. I'll pull out the jigger for that. Yeah, and the Sheikh basically just goes through and reflects on each topic and just discusses it within himself what he thinks of the topic. So a couple of chapters, for example,
Just throw some random ones. all
throw
over
some
the place.
randoms on. I can't
Maybe
be bothered.
pick one down the
Go
middle.
through the index.
Relax, bro. Relax.
I'm reading. All right, I'll give you one. I'm reading
There's a
numbers.
car park outside. All of you guys now.
Chapter 24. It goes, be concerned about others. Give that as an
I can't-
example.
What? Okay, listen. I'm not gonna. As you read a book, I'm gonna be honest. You don't. Sometimes your mind ponders. So you're just reading a book, but nothing's gone through your head.
Okay.
So you don't really remember everything that you read. But one thing I did remember reading is that the Sheikh was given an analogy saying that he was in a gathering, and he mentioned, a scholar was brought up, right? And then the Sheikh says, an old guy in a gathering, his eyes lit up, like he was quiet. His eyes lit up. He's like, yeah, I know that scholar. I used to go to school with him. And he's like, yeah, this, that, and that. And then the Sheikh, basically the author of the book, reflects and says, subhanallah, how just the difference of hard work can change someone's path so much that one person is remembered unanimously along the whole world, and one person just like isn't. No one's going to remember him when he passes away or whatever it is. And it's like, subhanallah, how amazing it is, and that the difference in that, it just in many things, you have it in many fields, but the difference in that was just hard work, and maybe it's not the word sincerity because everyone can be sincere, but hard work, to work on a way of knowledge, And it can probably be said for the same thing for many other industries or people that are famous or people that made it. You know how Mazen can probably list us. He's got it tattooed somewhere about the people that made it in the tech industry.
Wow.
He started out in a garage
Before
shed.
exposing,
It's
like
not
I'm saying that
literally
people
tattoo.
believe, no, it's not an actual tattoo. Like, it's just airbrush.
It's those ones you get in the chewing gum, you know? He opens up, imagine buys the chewing gum, gets the tattoo on his. I remember, do you guys remember
Yeah,
that
that was
back in
the
the days? They were like 20-cent chewing gums. They were rock hard.
So tell us, Mazen, of those guys that started like an industry in the back of the garage and no one believed in them.
Oh, there's usually, like, you see that picture. It's like it's not a meme, but it's actually a picture. It's literally 4 garages. I think it's Amazon, Google, Apple, and I don't think it was Microsoft. But there was another one, but I don't know why
Facebook,
you're asking me. But I'm
Facebook.
just telling you. No,
Yeah, 'cause
I don't think it was.
It
Facebook.
relates to that because I've seen that meme and subhanAllah, it's like, okay, the difference between some guy that Bill Gates that was never known before he got
Yeah.
famous, or the guy that made Facebook and stuff, and he got famous was because of hard work, possibly luck, but
Yeah.
a lot of hard work. You know, he's not going to get somewhere like that with nothing. You know, so that's one of the many topics in there. Another topic that Ahmed's probably poking me under the table to say.
No, I haven't.
Well, it's
It's a
probably
long table, bro. How the hell would I reach you? I'm not.
that cat one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm not.
What's the
actually
cat one?
wasn't
No,
thinking
mention it
that.
at least because
Yeah.
it's a good one. I liked it as well, and I think
It's-
it's a good
I-
blurb for this whole.
Okay, it's called Who Kicked the Cat, and from my memory, it's probably not even right, but from my memory, one person is upset. So let's give an analogy of an employer is upset, gets angry, lashes off at his employee. Employee gets angry, lashes off at his wife when he gets home. Wife is angry, lashes out at the kid. Kid gets angry, lashes out at the cat and kicks the cat. And
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
Have you kicked the cat before?
Ahmed definitely kicked the cat.
No, I haven't. I love cats.
He related too hard to that.
Yeah, I'm
one.
just imagining
Way
a
too hard.
kick, a cat. A kid kicking a cat. Flying. Oh, that's bad. Go continue. Sorry.
He's definitely kicked the cat.
No.
You just go back to the boss and just start swearing at him, and be like,
Yeah.
"You kicked the cat."
Yeah, so that's how the topic goes. Who kicked the cat? So he just reflects. I can't remember what he gets to, but he reflects on who's at fault in that case, you know, and how everyone can do something small to change someone else's day.
It's always the car at the back. That's it.
Yeah, or the domino effect, right? Like, you know, a bit of wind passes by, or you tip the domino over. Not that type of wind, though.
And a jigger,
I was coughing.
and a jigger falls down.
And
With a bit of
then
wind.
you know, domino after domino,
Mm.
you've got hundreds of dominoes in a row that have fallen down after each other. And it starts off with something small. You know what I mean?
This is, I assume, Adnan, I haven't read the book myself, but it's based from an Islamic perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, that's
Dr.
right. You reminded me. The book is based on another book that's quite famous, and I think on a title, on a blurb, it says read by 30 million people. In the index, the Sheikh says that he's written a book based on this book, which is called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and which is basically 30 million
Who's
people.
the
have bought
author?
it. He. I keep
It's
thinking
a
it's
he.
she.
It's a he.
It's a he. He's called Dale Carnegie, and he basically writes a very, very similar thing in that case, but it's more intellectual / like a lot of the stuff that he relates to is political, like political people, the people that made it, like in presidency or whatever, those sort of stuff, or famous people. But this I think is written in like the 1900s or 1800s, do we say? 20th century.
20th
is the
century.
1900s.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and he does the same thing, but he puts very informative analogies and stuff like that. And it's a very good book, and he's just basically talking and saying how people's mindsets can change the way that they move up in the business world, or like how a politician made it famous just by remembering. Oh, that's one I remember. There was a famous politician that remembered people's names so well that when he like he wouldn't forget people's names. So then when he was time to get voted in, everyone voted for him because they loved him. They thought like, imagine this guy that you don't know. He's like, for example, the prime minister remembers your name. You know, you're gonna think he really likes it. You've done something huge for him to remember you. All in all, he has like the guy that would remember the names. He had like a little diary saying that he used to just try very hard to remember people's names and get that focus off them. SubhanAllah. And the upsetting thing is that the writer did commit suicide after I don't know how many years. And then the Sheikh was saying that he thinks that Islam deserves more than that. You know, Islam is, he says Islam is superior to a person's great
Intellect.
Great intellect, great like being on a like, oh, not above mindset. What do you call it?
Pedestal.
No, like you know how you got like PD sort of mindset.
A high level of thinking.
Yeah.
more
You
in
refer
depth.
to them as an intellectual, essentially, like someone with a high level of thinking, like Ahmed said, right?
Yeah.
In depth.
in-depth thinking, always critical and stuff like that, and always working forward and improving themselves. And he's like, Islam is 100 times more worthy of being like that than this just how do you explain it, man?
More worthy of
Let me-
mention, more worthy of.
There we go.
There you
So
go.
what was it? What did you say?
No, that's it. He's stuttering too much. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh, worthy of mention. Yeah,
Yeah.
worthy of mention, worthy of appraisal. You know.
Yeah, so he's done the same thing based on an Islamic perspective, and I think he's done a very successful one.
Mm.
It's ironic that the guy committed suicide. Actually, wrote a book on how to win friends and influence people, which is sort of what everyone wants in life, right? To be influential and win friends. And this guy has written a bestseller, 30 million sold, right? It's probably rolling in the deep as well in money
Mm.
because he sold that many books. And the guy committed suicide. Do you know why? By any
I
chance?
did not research it. I did not research into it. Maybe we can do that next week.
It'd be interesting to see, but it'd have to be due to.
Yeah. Said, if
Not-
you're listening, can you quickly search
But
it up for us?
it'd have to be. It'd be linked to not having the religion, without a doubt. Like,
Mm.
because without the religion, what do? You just win friends and influence people and make money. But like,
You don't really have
all-
a goal or an actual.
There's always
Yeah.
a dead end to it.
there's always a
Yeah.
dead end to
Yeah.
it. How many friends can you have, and how many people can you influence, right?
Mm.
And whatever you do, you're not going to be as influential as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you're always going to be at least second best. So don't even try. Don't even try.
So why are we on this podcast?
I think no, try. There's no point. But like,
I think
I
I
think-
think the point is trying to say is
Islam.
don't try and continue and
It's a bit hard to interpret what he's trying to say, but I know it's
I'll try to make it a bit easier. So it's don't try and try to always reach for these worldly goals or these
Mm.
worldly affairs.
I think Abdul's the perfect addition. He interprets
And translate.
like so. We're supposedly, as Adnan says, analyzing the book, me and Adnan and so on. But we say it in such a weird way that Abdul is interpreting. So he's interpreting the analysis of the book.
I'll filter out all your inside jokes and make
Yeah.
it relatable
Yeah, I think
to everyone else.
this works. Mazen, you got to find the role as well.
So, bro, I'll just leave.
He looks good. He looks good.
Yeah,
Thanks, bro,
he's,
appreciate
he looks
it.
good.
he's that hipster you have to have.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the one that's like.
He's the thumbnail in every video.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thumbnail. That's it.
Is it thumbnail?
That's actually good.
But going back to your point about the politician, I don't know his name. It could be a female that remembers everyone's name in the room. It reminds me of an important characteristic, and I can't remember who told me this, but an important characteristic that successful people have, and you find it, I guess, consistent among successful people, is that they can make the smallest person in the room feel like the most important. You take your time to make the janitor or the cleaner, whatever it is, as an example, feel like the most important person in the room,
Mm.
and that's a reflection of your character and who you are. You know what I mean? If you take the time to acknowledge everyone in the room, then it just goes to show that who you are as a person. It reflects on that essentially.
Also, given that we're trying to take an Islamic route, or context for this book. On that point, if I recall correctly, I believe there is a hadith about the Prophet ﷺ,
So
and that being a characteristic of him, where whenever he would give a khutbah, the Sahaba would say, all of them would say that we felt like he was talking directly to us,
yeah.
and that he was actually speaking to us about it, and that the concept is that they felt that it was a conversation, not so much that
He had such an interpersonal
yeah,
relationship
it was
with
that
each one of
that
them.
personal that they wouldn't feel like. For example, there could have been 100 people there, but if they felt like he was speaking to them directly.
Probably more explicit example is one of the Sahabas that thought
Mm.
that the Prophet loved him most
Yeah.
out of absolutely
That's another,
everyone. Yeah. So then when he asked the Prophet, who do you like most? Then
So-
love the most, and then the Prophet said to his wife. He thought, just imagine that, subhanAllah, he probably thinks, okay, I don't mean your wife, like your wife, khalas, we know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Give us next, and he's probably thinking he's up next, he's like,
He's waiting
he's
for his name.
waiting for
He's
someone-
for the medal.
and then he just gets hammered. I think it was Abu Bakr after, okay, khalas, like,
Abuha.
yeah, well, like, khalas, okay, we understand, like, you've loaned him for ages, come on, like, certainly I'm next, and not even him, subhanAllah, and he had
Yeah.
that power that everyone thought that he loved him, that the Prophet ﷺ loved them the
Sallallahu
most.
Yeah.
It's amazing, yeah.
He used to spend a lot of time with each and every one of them. After Fajr, to spend time, and they would come and ask him personal questions and so on and so forth. That's like there's a whole.
It's these little things that we say a little, but they're only little in because of the fact that we don't actually look at them compared to all the other other deeds, right? But I guess that's one of the reasons why we're looking at something like this. We mentioned it in one of our episodes, I think, how we said, you can have the whole, the prayer, the reading, the fasting, and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the fundamental manners and
Yeah.
actual characteristics of a Muslim, then you're lacking a big part of yourself as a person and as for part of the religion.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was here, but I don't know if we mentioned it here previously. But just before Fajr, or after Isha, for example, or just before your prayers, you're making your dhikr. That's the best deed for you to be doing, in that moment. For example, when it's salah time, your salah is the best deed that you could be doing in that moment. But there's other moments where the best possible deed for you to be doing in that moment is just giving, a smile or salam to one of your brothers, or, giving charity in that moment, or, acknowledging a certain person, or, whatever deed it is.
Yeah.
It could be spending time with your wife. A lot of people might not consider it, but, there's certain times where spending time with your wife is the best deed that you could be doing in that moment. And that's what you could be getting more ajr, Allahu A'lam, for doing that deed at that particular time, because it's suitable for that time, as opposed to, praying another 2 rakat, Wallahu A'lam. You know what I mean?
For sure. I agree with you definitely there. I wanted to say, in terms of the book, Adnan, what's the plan? So for anyone that's listening at home, how are we gonna do this?
Okay, so I think we discussed that we were planning. Okay, so the book is written in a very, as we said, in a very reflective manner. So we were thinking a good way to go about this is to basically allocate a certain amount of chapters every. We aim to do this podcast monthly, right, boys?
Yeah.
So
Inshallah.
allocate an amount of chapters to have read. Preferably, they're only like 3 to 4 pages. In all honesty,
Yeah.
I think they're like 1 to 2 pages. Some of them.
Usually it'll take within the month. It'll take you like 15 minutes to read all of them.
So I encourage, and I think we encourage, to read the pages first and get this book, because wallahi, it's a very great book. And if you start reflecting on each dot point, you can just pick out characteristics that you lack and improve on.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna choose a couple of chapters, and basically by the end of the month, hopefully we've read that, and we'll take that month to analyze how we see those chapters affecting our daily life. So for example, one of the chapters, or if you go back to Who Kicked the Cat example, we can basically have that month to look at how people's anger, people's frustrations or emotions pass on from one person to the other. How, for example, a father can come home angry, and then in a matter of whatever, half an hour, the whole house is angry. Or even a flip side, the father, everyone can be upset. The father comes home happy, and it changes everyone's mood. So we were planning on doing that and taking our month basically on our next podcast to analyze, to reflect upon all those points that we read in the book, discuss, and then basically go forward and until we finish this book, inshallah.
It's not heavy in terms of
Very, very light.
very light. Like you said, the plan for this coming month is to read 4 chapters, right? And then
And that's 10 pages from
That's-
page 19 to 28.
there you go.
How about the introduction as well, right? Or is
Yeah,
that
if they like,
Yeah.
introduction, which we've summarized, I think.
10 pages, but
briefly.
the reading isn't the
goal.
hard part,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
goal. Ultimately, it's how you're gonna apply that. So that's why we're not reading 20 chapters where it talks about 6 different concepts. In
Otherwise,
terms
if you do that, you won't benefit or get the benefit that we're aiming to get.
Yeah, focus on 1 to 2 specific characteristics or points of knowledge that we're trying to extract from the book itself, and then apply that to your life for the next month and forever, inshallah. And also reflect on the scenarios where you were able to apply it or you didn't apply it, and that's what we'll inshallah discuss and see what our perspective is, what experiences we had, and so on and so forth. Because
I think what's good about it is the fact that, at least, let's say, for example, on the podcast, there's 4 of us, right? And then, inshallah, if the people that are listening are also joining along with this and they're commenting on, say, the Facebook page, if we do go through 1 or 2 or 3 characteristics, like we said, the idea is you're looking at how it's occurring in your life. You might see other people implementing or not implementing this, but then also yourself. I'm just looking at a random chapter right now. Don't cry over spilt milk. Okay, we've heard that phrase, but for example, within that month, that's the chapter we read. One of them. You look at it and you see one of the days something comes up, and then you start, you overthink the situation, and you're basically crying over spilt milk, remembering that that's the chapter we're talking about. If I come back the next month, I'll bring a scenario of mine of how I saw it, But Ahmed, Abdus Salam, or Adnan, or anyone listening might have had a different experience, and I feel like it's good to get that. Everyone
Yes.
reads it in a different way, and everyone has a different life,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's a
And
good way
I think ultimately you'll find all of them, Wallahu alam, in the seerah and the examples of the Prophet
to.
because ultimately that's where we're extracting
Yeah.
everything we want to become, and the personal development goals that we have. It's all from the Prophet ﷺ. So, once again, he demonstrated the path. So reflect on what we read and how it affected your life, and then go back and see what the Prophet ﷺ done when he came to that scenario. If the book itself doesn't address it, I haven't
No,
read
it
it.
does. It does address Islamic values and
Does it touch on
references
hadith and
Yeah,
stuff?
it does.
Oh, it does.
Oh,
Reference
good.
hadiths and points of seerah where it's relatable and stuff like that. So that's why it's a good book, because not only does it's based on how to be more influential and how to be more successful in people's eyes, but it also adds that Islamic attribute to it. And I think it comes hand in hand when. Can you relate the Prophet? What's the hadith go? إنما بعثت لأتم حسن الخلق. Like the Prophet was sent to perfect manners or to perfect a good character and conduct.
Yeah.
And I think, subhanAllah, like one of the many, I can't think of anything right now, but you hear many stories where just a person's character changes a person and allows them to think about Islam, for example. To be that person that stands out. Maybe that guy at work where everyone steals or where everyone does something that's wrong, and you're being the different one that doesn't do that. Or being very strict in your salah and not missing your salah, and someone looking at you and saying, wow, this guy doesn't give it up for nothing. He must have some not ghira, what's the word? What everyone says about Muslims, they're very, when you say wrestlers,
People say a lot.
discipline.
Discipline.
That's
It's good. Word of the day, discipline.
I think, like, I think we mentioned it earlier on, but something significant about Islam is the fact that in terms of characteristics, we know that it teaches us the perfect characteristics to have as a person. And when you're saying that you want to be, like, it's not, obviously we're not doing this to be seen as, they are good people. This person specifically is a good person, right? Obviously this is Islam. This is how it's all meant to be. But it just rings a bell, like literally today, right? As an example, I got a message from one of the directors at work, right? And the level that I'm at, you don't, like, the level of communication goes to, like, a consultant, then a senior, then a manager, senior manager, before director even. And the director messaged me, so I started panicking.
before you
And they're
even
like,
open the
oh,
email.
they're like, can you
Saw
jump?
the name, innit?
No, but they're like, can you jump on a call
Bathroom
to
break.
discuss this particular issue? I was like, oh crap, I
I'm
have.
fired. That's it. I lost my job. We
What?
started applying
So I'm like,
for Bunnings.
I'm like, I'll go back to Macca's actually, but I was like, anyway, I answered the call. I picked up the call, and she started going off, like. And part of the conversation was like, oh, but the political. Look, I'm not having a go at you, but, and then proceeds to have a go at me, right? So, and it was like, honestly, I haven't experienced this in at least not at my workplace yet.
Yeah.
So I was taken aback, and I was like, man, what's going on here? And I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, right? I was in the right, and even when I put forward my argument, it's like, yeah, but that's not an acceptable response. No, not a good excuse. Look, what the hell's going on here? I hung up the phone call, and I called my manager. I actually called my manager, and I'm like, look, what's up with this lady? Like, she called me, she lost it at me, and obviously, I don't want to get into trouble with them. So I'm like, I'll tell my manager, and they'll speak to them. The first thing that my manager said to me was, don't take it personally. She's like that with everyone. No one likes to interact with her. I was like, what kind of reputation is that? Like, imagine that is what people are saying about you. And she's like, I'm a manager, and she talks to me like that. The directors, and she talks to them like that. Like, I don't know. We don't know. These things could be affected from other reasons. But my point is, that's the reputation that she has clearly going around the company. As Muslims, that's the complete opposite to what we want. Right? The last thing we want, although people do talk, like you said, people still say whatever they want about Islam. But you don't want to be that, to actually be that, and people have a reason to say it. Right? But
It's a great example.
That's a good point.
Well, it's a good example. Like, we have that same thing in our workforce when the first couple of months, I think I've said it so many times, first couple of months, like, we go back and forth. So I'm a surveyor, and I'll basically process the plan, and we'll give it to a draftee, and I'll make the plan look pretty and put it in plan view and change the colors and make it look proper. And And then there was one draftee that was very difficult to deal with. And then I thought I was making all the mistakes, so someone came and laughed and said, nah, she's like that with everyone. And I'm like, okay, take a step back and breathe. And subhanAllah, you have different people, completely different people that are easy to go and not. And then you see that certainly like half the time, the person that's very nice to deal with, the whole company is giving their work to her. Because like they don't want to deal with the other person that's hard to deal with, you know. And subhanAllah, how you just get that, just naturally happens, you know. SubhanAllah, it's amazing.
You find that your bosses and stuff will also trust you more and want give you more responsibilities.
People avoid other people, yeah.
Yeah, like we always had people like at work. We had an incident where someone was stealing from the till, from the register. The bosses eventually found out, they got sacked. You know, they gave her a bit of trust to like leave her alone. Stole, lost the trust. So now
it's not a good reputation.
Yeah, what a way! Like now, the only way that's
how we're
going to be remembered.
That's how we remember. Oh, I remember so and so. She stole from us $20 to go buy cigarettes. Apparently,
I was getting ready to that buzzer, Abdul, just in case I drop the name.
Oh,
what is
I was getting ready.
What is
I'm surprised he said sheep.
Yeah.
He usually
I'm
goes
like, it's
straight to
alright,
the
bro.
name.
We'll take that. You know, I say eat.
So if people start buying this book, is there like a promo code?
Are we getting
like
an Amazon download link?
Can you
affiliate link?
Can you tell us where to buy it from first of all?
Okay, so
I don't personally have a book.
I don't know about Amazon
Let me
and
see if
stuff
it's
like
on
that.
Amazon, bro.
You can find an online copy. I don't know if that's the best way to say it. For the author.
What's the Enjoy Your Life?
Yeah, you can buy it from any Islamic bookstore. Basically, what are the Islamic bookstores in Sydney?
Dar es Salaam has
Dar es Salaam in Lakemba. There's Bukhari House in Auburn. I think there's another store in Lakemba.
There is.
There's another bookstore, a couple of
just
shops around
Couple shops down.
Is it
That's right.
Abdul Rahman Arifi?
Sheikh
Yeah.
Hamad
That's the
Abdul-
one.
yeah,
But
Hamad
hey,
Arifi.
I found the link on Amazon. Let's set up an affiliate link.
Can you do that? Just
No,
simply
you
set up
actually
an
can, yeah.
affiliate link.
Yeah. Let's see anyone that downloads it. There's only 5 in stock. I've got to find another link.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
No way, I didn't know that's how it works.
Yeah.
So why don't people just? Oh, okay, no, that would.
And I think, honestly, it's a very beneficial book. One, because the author of the first book called How to Win Friends and Influence People recommends that you read this book once a month. Why?
Once a month.
Relax. Why? She says because there's so many points she touches on, you're not going to remember anything. He.
touches on.
Astaghfirullah azim. Because
It. Remember, you don't say he.
there's
or
so
she.
many points that he touches on, you end up forgetting. You know, like from one chapter to the second to the fourth, you end up forgetting. So that's why it's like keep reading. So then, as well, you're constantly reflecting and constantly improving. The same way with this book. Like I've basically read it once, and how many chapters are there? There's probably more than there's 90 chapters I think all up, and I could just list 2 off the top of my head. You know, from when I was discussing and remembering everything. You know, so that's why, and I'm sure at least 50 are very beneficial. You know, and that way, if you read a monthly, certain things stick at that month or what you relate to in that moment stick, and some things just end up disappearing.
Yeah, repetition is key, I guess, in that sense.
As well, like subhanAllah, you can hear something so many times, and then once you hear it at a different time, different place, or a perfect moment, and you'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a good point. You sometimes brush off certain things, but then you remember it when something happens in your life, or you go through something, or someone you know is going through something. That particular advice kind of pops in your head, but the first time you would have just brushed it off.
That's
So
what I was
it's
saying when Mazda said, "Oh, we don't want to repeat ourselves." I'm like, sometimes, like, if we went through what we went through the first week, we'll benefit. Even ourselves will benefit, inshallah. So there's no harm, but obviously, like we said, we want something a bit more structure. People can follow along with. I guess if you're reading a book, people feel more engaged as well. Wouldn't you say? If people are following on with the book, they'll feel more engaged with what we're talking about.
They can tick off things off
And they're also reading a book, they're benefiting. Even if they're not listening to us for the rest of the series, and they just listen to this first one and we told them to read the book, they'll benefit from that as well, right? So
Inshallah.
in any way that anyone can benefit, inshallah, that's the whole goal of this podcast and many podcasts to come, inshallah.
As well as getting into the habit of reading, I think.
Which we've been doing.
Recently I'm starting to get back into and enjoying it, actually.
Yeah, I was actually reading this book, or it's not too long, but with regards to what Bazin was saying about being someone that people remember and so on and so forth, because we have that foundation of Islam, it was a very, like, I found it to be such a pretty cool point where the author, who's some American non-Muslim, he was saying that the biggest threat to Western civilization isn't the fact that Muslim fundamentalism or terrorism, as they paint it, whatever it may be. It's the fact that Muslims are so confident and have so much, like, yaqeen that they are the superior ones in terms of not individuals, but like we have the superior backing and the Quran, which is above all, and the Prophet, which is above all, and our beliefs, which is above all. Because we have such firm belief, even the people that aren't practicing, they're not even praying, whatever, generally have the firmest of belief that like what we have is most correct.
Mm.
And I found it to be so profound. Alhamdulillah, like we do have what we do have.
Firm conviction, yeah.
It's amazing, and with that firm conviction, a lot of people are hard to waver. So we're just trying to increase that conviction and become better people, so that we couple that firm conviction with actual actions, and people will become an unstoppable force, inshallah.
Inshallah.
In the workforce, wherever it may be, in our daily lives, as we mingle within society.
So what's our plan for the book now? So from now,
Okay, from now till next month, or as Ahmed likes to say it, the last Thursday of every month,
so what month are we now? June. So the last Thursday of July, inshallah.
which is, what's the date?
I think
Figure
it's
it
the
out, yeah.
31st or something.
I'll find it.
30 days, have September,
'cause
April, June.
it's 5th.
How are you gonna find out like that?
It is the 30th.
30th.
By adding, what do you mean?
How are you gonna
It's,
find
I
out?
can. Do you want me to finish?
Finish off. Go.
Okay.
Finish off.
30 day. June has 30 days.
Yeah.
July has how many days?
Yeah.
31 days.
Yeah. But how do you know which one of those days is Thursday?
So no. Now you start calculating, and now I can account for the 30 days of the 31st day. So I'm not wrong by one day. And you're gonna be like, oh no, you're wrong. Now I'm gonna get it precisely.
So what are you
doesn't-
gonna add? You're gonna add.
Doesn't tell us what
That's-
the day is.
that's-
And I'll tell you one
Hey,
second.
that's totally irrelevant because
as I'm
you just count.
As I'm
40.
calculating it, it's the 30th of July.
That is
If you add-
it's irrelevant.
If you
What,
add,
what do you mean? How?
You knowing how many days July has is irrelevant because you just calculate days.
No. I wanted to know how many days June had.
But what's that got to do with the last Thursday?
June has
Thursday of
20
July.
Okay, June has 28. Then what?
Then I'll minus 2 days of my week. So, and I'll go backwards. Then I'll
Anyway,
say
for the people listening, inshallah, it
Abdul,
will
can
be
you
July.
translate? Can you translate?
I'm lost on that one too.
Moody's analysis.
No clue.
That's
Abdul can
homework, guys.
translate it.
Homework. For anyone who's listening, homework. Find out what they're saying.
That's like your bonus project. If you finish the book and you have spare time,
start
translate that, listen
figure
to
it
that.
Yeah,
So inshallah, it'll be the 30th of July.
I said that.
Okay.
He did. He
Good.
got it right.
You said it after I said it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Before
you
you said
did.
it.
Yeah,
you
he said
did.
it before. He said it.
No,
before.
he said it
I
after.
said it.
You guys weren't
Watch.
listening.
You can
We'll
go back and listen.
Listen to the podcast again, guys. Second time.
Or if anyone's listening already, can you just like message it and
Leave
tell
a
him?
comment.
Yeah.
Who said it first?
Okay, so the first 4 chapters, they're called, basically chapter 1 is they did not benefit, and then chapter 2 is called what are we going to learn, chapter 3 is why do we search for skills, and chapter 4 is improve yourself.
Yep.
I think we stopped there because from memory they're very similar topics and relatable topics, and I think it's only 9 pages. If you want to include the publisher's forward and introduction, it's an extra 2, and go through it inshallah.
Okay.
And we'll gauge it. If we find that in the month that we only read 9 pages, which isn't much, but I guess application-wise it can be quite a lot, we can gauge it. We can either increase or decrease.
Of course,
And
yeah.
if the listeners are actually involved and they want to tell us what we should do as well, like we're open to suggestions. It's not like we're not set in stone,
Yeah.
you know. So inshallah, that's
Should
our
we
plan.
try to open up a way that listeners can contribute their events of that month?
Facebook
Yeah.
Live?
Would you say live or are you saying another avenue?
I don't know, maybe other avenues if someone wants to do it private or not really, or just on Facebook. You reckon is the
Well,
best?
we have the calling.
I
We
guess,
can
yeah.
get calls in.
Calls
Yeah.
is fine. I think Facebook is fine as
Oh
well.
yeah, or maybe
Yeah.
inbox the Al Bayan page if you want to stay anonymous, and we can just basically
Yeah.
read the thing as we go.
Yeah,
maybe
sure,
some people don't want to
contributions.
publish their event on the comment
Yeah,
section.
and we can
That's a
just
good point.
discuss it once what we think of,
Yeah.
of that experience as
Yeah,
well.
I
It'd be a
don't-
good idea.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned anyway that the podcast or this segment is called the Muslim Mindset, right? So that's what we've gone with. So if you are going to put forward a suggestion, just so that we know exactly when to address the comment, just put a note that it's for the Muslim Mindset segment, inshallah, and we'll speak about that in the next episode.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
inshallah. Yeah, and I think on that, maybe I think you guys will agree, so I'll talk for all of us. If you guys want to suggest anything that we do differently, or maybe talk about or not talk about, in regards to this podcast, feel free to message. Probably the best way is message the Al Bayan Facebook page, and we'll take it into consideration, inshallah.
even if you want to change the host, we're definitely
Yeah, I'm
open to
down.
that suggestion.
Everyone's in probation.
Everyone, I think what the hell, their inbox right now. Yeah, that's an option as well, guys.
I want to be
Don't
too
forget it.
stern, yeah. Alhamdulillah. Anything you guys want to say to finish off this week's?
Nah, keep
Episode?
it nice, short and sweet. Yeah,
I think it's a
alhamdulillah.
good introduction. So homework for next week for everyone is to
Next month.
Next month,
Next
sorry.
month.
I keep saying week.
I'm telling you, the 30th of June.
No,
July,
because I'm
sorry.
thinking about the Ramadan nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's a weekly.
So
Ramadan nights.
yeah. So the homework is, inshallah, that all four of us and hopefully the listeners will listen. Will read chapters 1 to 4.
That's right.
Try see how where they occur in your life and how you can implement them to your life. Do a bit of reflection and pondering
And analyzation.
and analysis.
I was waiting for that analyzation. I don't even think that's a word, but okay.
And then inshallah next month. I was about to say week again.
We'll
Yeah.
tune in again.
You're
inshallah.
too hasty, man. You really want to do next week? Do you want to go next week?
No, I'm just
You
waiting.
want me to
see what-
calculate the date for next week?
Honestly, I'm waiting to see. All right, go. Just so you know, there's 31 days in July.
Okay, hectic. carry the X. It's the 1 second.
Did you cube root it?
1 second.
Make sure you minus 3.
The
Yeah.
second of the July.
But anyway, it's not the second. Inshallah, it'll be the 30th of July. I can't wait to see what Abdul says next
When?
week.
Next week.
Next week. I'm waiting for your input.
I'm not saying anything.
Alright,
30th
alright.
of July, inshallah. Sounds good.
Alright, Jazakallah khair for listening.
Barakallah
Inshallah, you
feek.
guys enjoyed.
Mm.
And inshallah, we'll see you guys next month. Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum wa
alaikum.
rahmatullahi
Assalamu
wa barakatuh.
alaikum.
Assalamu.